Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Mrs. France?
Here.
Mrs. Long?
Here.
Mrs. Slaughter?
Here.
And Mr. Price is absent.
Thank you. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That is dramatically more in unison than it is when it's online. I'd like to start off with our good news recognition, and the first one is for Dave Herrick, who is retiring as of the 31st. Sir, Dave has 33 years with the district. He's taught at Stephen Bell, he's taught at Bell Creek, he's taught at the middle school, he's a junior high. It was different then. And Tafalon has been a big thing for you. That's true. And that was kind of how I got to meet you in the first place. So, do you want to say anything?
Just say a quick thank you. First off, thank you to the board for the opportunity 33 years ago. Some of you weren't here, a few of you. I don't know, Mrs. France. I don't think you were on the board then, but anyway, thank you all. I feel really lucky to work for Bellbrook-Sugarcreek schools. The school board doesn't have an easy job, so thank you for all your work. Thanks to the administration. I work for 6 principals, including Mrs. Adams, thank you. A shout out to Mrs. Chat, who I consider a friend and a mentor. A huge thanks to my colleagues and friends throughout the district. When you're around 33 years, you know a lot of people, and that's sort of fun. But I consider them family and friends also. Thanks to the families who welcomed me into their collaborated with me, working with their students. Most importantly, thank you to the students and the kids. I consider them all mine, and I think it's about 2,000. I think by my count, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 kids. And most importantly, thank you to my family, especially my wife Kathy, who has done a lot of cookie baking, curtain making, school supply shopping, and I'm not going to lie, she even graded a few math papers. So I am very appreciative to her. And I'll just end by saying the same thing I say to every kid who leaves the class. It's always the same phrase: be safe, because it's really tough to be safe right now. Be smart, make good choices, and be really good to each other, because we need that right now. Thank you, everybody.
That's a whole lot of lives impacted, Dave. That's a whole lot of lives. Thank you so much. Next, if I've gotten them in the right sequence. Oh, it doesn't matter, because this is what I'm holding. We have a certificate of recognition for Charlie Odell as the 2020 Horizon Award recipient from the Southwest Ohio Athletic Directors Association. Congratulations. Do you want to say anything? Sure. You want to explain to me a little bit of what that means? How did you get selected for that?
Sure. It's just the whole Southwest District, which is pretty much all of Southwest Ohio. It's an award that's given to athletic director in the first 2 years. That's made some new programs and stuff like that. Overall, I just want to thank the board. I like Dave, the hard speech to follow right there. But he said everything perfectly. Great community support here, and the staff working together. It makes the whole thing go. A really easy job here when everybody's working together and the community loves to support the schools and the athletic programs. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And last we have for Jeff Heckley, the 2020 Middle School Athletic Director of the Year in the Southwest Ohio Athletic Directors Association. Thank you, Dave and Dr. Kozak, the board. I want to thank everyone again, as the rest have mentioned, for their support. Bellbrook is a special place. You come here to work and you fall in love with it, and you can't help but give everything that you have to this place. I've been surrounded my entire career here by great people. My father always told me, good people working together can accomplish great things. I have a special source of pride in that as a athletic director and a coach, that young man was one of mine that played for me. So it's great to see things come to fruition, and I hope we can continue things in a positive direction. Thank you, Jeff. Congratulations. Thank you very much. See you next. All right, we've come to the point in our agenda, we will review the superintendent's report agenda items and make sure that we have the opportunity to discuss those and a little bit ahead of time, and then when it comes time for making the motion and voting, we also have the opportunity to discuss it further if we need to. So we'll start off with item 9A. You can move the agenda down there so the folks here who are in attendance can follow along. 9A, licensed staff position. Number one, Aaron Duras was one of our reduction in force staff members, but with the retirements and resignations or leave of absence that we had, her spot has opened up, and so that position was, she was recalled in order to fill that position. Anything more to say on that?
Glad to have her back.
Yes, glad to have her back. Number two, Eileen Malice, her hours per day are being increased from 6.75 to 7.5. And part of that is due to the retirement of Jenny Katzenberger, so we have additional needs for student school nurse time, excuse me. And she's also been a great asset to the district this summer with the health and safety plans for starting out the new school year. So we greatly appreciate her participation in that.
Yeah, she's at BCI and she also helps with preschool, so that's why also the increase of hours there. They're full time. 7.5 is full time.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the retirement of Dave Park, which we just spoke about. We have number 4, the acceptance of resignation from teacher Erica Jerkins, effective August 8th. She is moving to district. Number 5 was unpaid leaves of absence, and those are for personal reasons. So those teachers are going to be on unpaid leave. Item number 6, any questions so far with staffing items? Okay, thank you very much. I'm forgetting to ask those. Item number 6, recommend approval of following one-year limited teaching contracts. And those are filling vacancies that we had as a result of a variety of movements, retirements, or resignations. Any other reasons that to include in that?
Leave of absence with Kelly Hobson there, so yeah.
True, and leave of absence as well. And one thing to note with Michelle Mize, she will be coming in with a master's, but not master's plus third. Number 7 is to recommend the approval of supplemental duty contracts. This is an annual process for supplemental duty contracts. These are for fall sports, predominantly, and then also these are not part of the 85 supplemental positions that were eliminated as part of our earlier reductions. One add for that is Tess Rivero. She's added to the original list as a National Honor Society advisor. Nisha Crawford is added for cross country. Any questions on those items, supplemental contracts? All right, 8, number 9. Recommend the approval of supplemental duty volunteers. Obviously not paid positions, these come up for approval each year. This group is predominantly for band and cheerleading. In addition, we also have Kayla Parker as an add-on for cross country. So any questions on supplemental volunteers? All right, 9B. Going on to support staff. Support staff positions. We are increasing the daily hours for support staff, high school custodian Beth Peterson, from 7 to 7.5 hours, which makes that a full-time position. And there are a variety of other movements with custodians. And so we have one new addition as well, which is John Schwarber. Thank you. In addition to the others on the original agenda. We also have high school secretary replacement, and that is Robin Cordonnier. Cordonnier, thank you. Okay, questions on position replacements?
You want to make any other comment about the custodian shuffle at all?
Sure. Yeah, we had shifted around some custodians, so it involved the full-time day custodian at SEC, and he had done some duties there at Sugarcreek Elementary Transportation Center, and then also at the high school. So our night custodian at SEC had done the night cleaning at the SEC, plus also down at Sugarcreek. So just shifting some of those things around. The key part is the daytime custodian at SEC is going to clean that entire building. So when kids are not in class, he's going to be cleaning before or after. He's going to stay there the whole time. And then our new gentleman, John Schwarber, is going to be doing Sugarcreek Elementary Transportation and then a little bit at the middle school. Middle school's position was cut last year, so that's a couple hours here. It's a pretty big building. And then also shifting some additional time for Beth Peterson and shifting some time there to cover the lunch there. So it involved a couple people, but within the retirement, it really allowed us to shift things around and be a little more efficient.
Thank you very much. You can see why I didn't want to go through all the custodian ones myself. I couldn't remember it all. And then we have number 4, Dean Harper is resigning as a special needs assistant in lieu of being coming on as a bus driver instead. That fits her family situation a little better. We also have George Fisher, or Ron Fisher, returning as a bus driver.
Substitute.
Oh, excuse me.
Let's do it sub.
Those substitutes.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
And 9C, for remote learning plan, Mrs. Chad will provide us a report on this topic a little bit later in our meeting. And we have a revision to student fees, 9D. For those students who are 100% online, the fees will have a $74 a year for the online module, a $55 a year for Chromebook, which is no difference in the charge for students in grades 6 through 12, and a $19 charge for computer services. And again, that's no change for the students in 6 through 12. So those fees that are a replacement, also for the students K-5 who are going 100% online.
Yep, $74 for anybody that's going online, that's their fee.
Right.
Yep.
So any questions from the board on the adjustments in fees?
Is that $74 a year or a semester?
That's for the year, because the Chromebook, we actually grade 6 to 12, they were already being charged this amount. So really it's no different for 6 to 12, but since K to 5 are taking those Chromebooks home, the computer service fee is already on there regardless. So it's the Chromebook fee that's added, additional K to 5, compared to in the past.
And the $74 online module is per year as well.
So $74 is the total.
Oh.
55 plus the 19, so $74 total.
Okay.
So it's for the computer and for computer services, which is Progress Book, and for internet services.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
Yes, it's $74
That's good
total.
clarification.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
thank you.
$74 total.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, and then also under student fee changes, we have the marching band and the color guard, their fees have dropped from $745 to $300 because we aren't going to be doing competitive band competitions and so forth. We'll be staying local, so that reduces their fees dramatically. Any other questions? Was an excellent, Virginia, thank you, because it helped clarify something for me too. I appreciate that. 9E is a donation from the Adjournment Barker Group and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services for Stephen Bell Playground Renovations Fund. And 9F is a transportation agreement with Centerville City Schools, something that we do in a variety of circumstances to get students who live in one district, but their school is in another district, to share and exchange those transportation needs. Any question on that? All right, agenda review is pretty easy this evening, so happy about that.
Say it again.
I said I was very happy about the fact that it was an easy,
Yep.
easy review. It's nothing too difficult. Okay.
You have one item on the left there, G, items of information, if you want to review that or not.
Oh, well, I didn't think that I would.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Lyman, can you give us the treasurer's report, please?
Sure. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held July 9th and the special meeting held July 16th?
Second.
Any questions or adjustments, corrections to the minutes? All right, Mr. Lyman, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of July as presented with the agenda?
So moved.
Mrs. Franz,
Second.
Mrs. Sloughman.
Really don't have anything to review this time on the treasurer's report. We're only 1 month into the fiscal year and we haven't had a lot of activity, so unless you have any questions about what you read with your agenda, I don't have anything else to present on that.
Okay. Any questions from the board? All right, please call the roll.
Okay, Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes. Motion passes.
Can I get a motion to approve the final fiscal year 21 appropriation amendments, $937,564.33.
So moved.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Second.
Mrs. Long.
This is, as stated there, just to add all of our state and federal grants that we get. I don't include those in the original appropriation that we adopt on June 30th at that meeting. I wait to make sure the grant's approved and the final amount is secured, and then I add it into appropriation. So that's what this is.
All right, any questions? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And this last one is a requirement of the state auditor's office that if you look in the blue section of your agenda, on the very last page, the back of the last blue page, you can see that we have what the auditor's office calls super blanket and blanket POs that have to be approved by the board. Basically, they're saying if you have purchase orders that where you are have ongoing expenditures throughout a year, and you want to do one PO for the quarter or one PO for the year for a large amount, and then partial pay all the way through the year, you need to have the board approve those. So I've listed the ones for this school year, and these are all of them at the top at least are pretty much normal. Workers' comp, all the utility purchase orders, Sodexo for food service. At the bottom, the blanket POs, I have the only difference really between the two is a super blanket PO can have more than one accounting code on it. Why they want us to do this, I don't know, other than the fact that they want the board to be aware of the large expenditures that go on for the whole year, I guess. And then the one at the bottom can only have one line item for an account code, and it includes Montgomery County ESC, in case we have handicapped student tuition, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't for that entity. Maxim Healthcare, Reap Mechanical, Key Behavioral, and then the bank and the company that we lease purchase our copier printers from when we make that big purchase. So you can see all the information there, the vendor's name, the service they provide, how much the PO is for, the length of time it's open, the account codes used. Any questions on any of those? We're supposed to approve those once every year.
Okay. Questions from the board?
None of these are new from last year, by the way.
Right.
And the amounts on quite a few of them, well, really the amounts on all of them are estimates at this point, so.
Sure. All right, go ahead and call the roll.
Did I get a motion and second on that, by the way? I don't have it. I think I spoke before I got that.
I think we have Mrs. Lockman and Mrs. Long.
Okay, I'm sorry for you that.
You go through C.
We're not proceed? Let's proceed. All right, let's get a motion then.
So moved.
Mrs. France
Second.
and Mrs. Long.
Actually, I do have a question about this, I'm gonna ask.
Okay, go ahead.
How do we identify which companies provide the special ed student support? Totally separate.
Those are,
Like for instance, Maxim, you mean?
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I mean,
Those are companies that provide those services, so we contract with those companies for that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there are a whole lot of companies that provide that. It's like a nursing service for our severe
Oh,
severe
nursing
needs.
service?
You know.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. Thank you.
right, good. Any other questions? All right, call the roll.
Okay, Mrs. Slaughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long.
Yes.
motion passes. All right.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, my fault. All right, going on to correspondence. During the last month, since our last meeting, we have received lots and lots and lots of correspondence from people with questions about the school opening up in the fall, the questions about schedule, questions about masks, questions about the curriculum associated with online and so forth. Each person who's communicated to us has received a response. Some of the folks were critical of options we were considering, and a variety of folks were also very supportive of options that we were considering. So there, we probably had, if you have 10 people, we probably had 20 opinions on how we should be opening. But I know through a fair amount of deliberation, a whole lot of planning and discussion, we've come up with a plan that Chad is going to present here this evening. Does anyone have other correspondence that they've received that, as far as we know, did not get processed or replied to regarding the opening of school or any other topics? Okay, very good. So we go on to reports to the board with Dr. Kozak on the levy discussion and back to school information.
Thank you. Before we get to that, want to just let you know about a staff member with a heavy heart. We're sad to let you know that Benita Taggart, and our teacher in the district for 25 years, who just retired this summer, passed away from cancer this last weekend. Benita had a passion for her craft and loved what she did, and loved her students. Her fellow colleagues and former students will miss her tremendously. So we just have a moment of silence for her. It'd be fantastic. Thank you. Let's start with back to school information first, and Mr. Carpenter talked a little bit about it, but as you all know, we start school on Monday. Today's Thursday, we start school on Monday. Big thanks to all those that got our schools ready. It's a monumental task, and when I say that, I don't say that lightly. I mean, it's been a monumental task. Things continue to change, evolve, and we have to evolve and adjust throughout. I mean, if you're just looking at this cafeteria, this is just one of the many things right here. This was, last year all full of tables and eight chairs at each table. So dramatically different. There's actually tables behind the screen here. There's more seating back here for students. So that's just one of the many things, adjustments that we've had to make. And it's one of those, there's enough things going on to get the school year started back up, but this has been on steroids of the amount of decisions that have been made of what side of the hallway do we walk down? Let's not drink out of drinking fountains, that's off limits. It's just the basic things that we all take for granted that we've had to rethink so we can have our kids back in school and do so safely. So, I've lost track of how many meetings that we've had this summer. I don't think we've even had a summer. Just been a lot of meetings. So administrators, psychologists, maintenance, transportation, guidance counselors, Eileen Malice and the other nurses, teachers, SEA, and SLASH, who we worked with throughout this whole process, custodians, secretaries, Josh Gold in technology, Jennifer Hain and her lunching food service staff, Betsy Chad for her curriculum expertise, professional development, and curriculum chats this summer. She held curriculum chats every week throughout the summer, where teachers 50, 60 would get on every week or so and talk, and not just teachers, but staff, of just what's on your mind and just talking and working through some things. So, central office staff, treasurer staff, my administrative assistant, Sheila Woody, and obviously the Board of Education is a big part of this whole process. So it's been monumental to get us ready to go. Today was supposed to be the first day of school. We moved that back to allow our staff members to have a week full of professional development and just going over procedures, protocols, all those things that I was mentioning a minute ago of rearranging cafeterias, classrooms, everything. So they've done a lot of learning this week. So starting on Monday and Thursday is A through K, and Tuesday, Friday is L through Z, and then Wednesday is a collaboration day, which we also did in the spring. And again, the kindergarten is on a different schedule just because of whether it's full day or all day every day, or it's purple or gold, they start on their own schedule. Again, all of that information is on our website, the full schedule, our full plan, everything is on there. As you know, we gave our families two choices of returning to school, in person and online. Currently, we have about 22% of our students that chose to go online. So just a little over 600 students chose to go online. And so we have shifted 15 of our full-time staff members to work with those 600 students. And we also have 10 staff members that are in smaller roles of support. They still are teaching in person, but they're maybe taking a period or two and then providing online support to those students that are online. So again, we're calling it the Bellbrook Online Academy. And they start September 8th. They don't start next Monday. The online students start start the day after Labor Day. And that's for us to make sure we have the proper training and things are set up properly with that particular curriculum, with EdNet, to make sure that those things are aligned when we come back in second semester. Fingers crossed, that's a big fingers crossed of everybody coming back second semester, or vast majority coming back second semester. Wouldn't that be great? So we just want to make sure that if that is a possibility, as we're trying to plan ahead and be proactive, that everything's aligned and they can seamlessly come back into the building at that point. If we're at that, it'd be great if we were at that point. The flip side of that is that we have 78% of our students returning in person. So 78% of our students have chosen to come in person. And we're coming back in that hybrid start, that 50% start, but actually when you think about it, it's not 50%, it's actually 39%. That are coming back on a daily basis. So it's not 50%, so that allows us to spread out, especially a little bit more in the cafeterias, through the hallways, classrooms, and so forth. Again, right now, our goal is 100% of our students returning the day after Labor Day, September 8th. But as you know, the recent restart plan is a living document. We continue to readjust, replan, and adjust as needed. So, we need to make sure that we're all ready to come back on Monday. We sent out a series of emails this week as parents. Hopefully you're getting those, and staff members. Things focusing on proper hygiene, hand washing, cleaning, more cleaning in the schools, especially high-touch areas, social distancing, face coverings, and then also assessing symptoms. So that the assessing symptoms piece is going to be a huge partnership with our parents and our community members, making sure that they're assessing their children before they go off to school. And if they do have one of those symptoms or a fever, that they're keeping that child home and being extra cautious. So it's really a true partnership to make sure that we're all keeping safe. So we really need our parents to do that at home, and they will be reporting, I'll put that in quotes, reporting that information when they get to school. So there's going to be some type of accountability that, those things are happening. Fall sports for right now, as of 7:33 on the 13th. Fall sports for non-contact sports, there we go from the state level. Contact sports, as of right now, are not a go. However, that decision I've heard is going to be made on Tuesday by DeWine. Of course, I've heard that before when he said he's going to make a decision on a certain day, and it's not on that day. I know there's obviously, we all know that there's many factors and things playing into those decisions. So again, I know a lot of people say, because I don't want to be too many decisions. I don't want to be the governor either of making all those decisions at the state level. So there's a lot of decision making going on. So the contact sports are kind of still up in the air. As of this second, they're a no-go. However, that decision is going to be made supposedly next Tuesday. So do you have any questions, board members, on the return to school plan? I know we worked on that document for a long time, refined and tweaked and so forth. Okay.
Probably the biggest question I'm getting is what would have to happen or change to make the plan change again? I'm sure you're getting that as well.
Yeah, there's not really an easy answer to that. So the factors, we're keeping into play is, statewide, what are the numbers? Greene County, what are the numbers? I was looking today again, we're orange. We've been pretty steadily orange. I'm talking about from the Ohio Health Advisory graphs or whatever you want to call it. So that's factored into how many cases we are having in our schools, whether those are staff members, whether those are students. Again, concern if the staff members are out or maybe they're out with their child. So those things play into it. So I guess I don't want to get back into one particular thing. If this happens, then we're gonna do this, just because there's so many factors into the whole thing. But that kind of leads into, I think, though, we need to see how things go the first week. I mean, we put so many things in place. We need to see them in action, and we're going to continue to refine and tweak. And again, there's a lot of teaching that has to go on, not only the academics. We're going to spend probably the first week or two at least. How to walk down the hallway, how to keep your mask on, how to do this, how to do that. So, there's going to be a lot of adjustment in those first week or two at least. But probably something we need to think about and consider is, do we want to extend the hybrid model beyond Labor Day? So right now we have 50%, 39% coming back on a daily basis. At some point, I'm not saying tonight, that this needs to be something that we are highly considering and thinking about. we probably need to see those things in action before we actually make a decision. But that probably needs to be on our radar of, do we extend this out beyond Labor Day? Maybe it's through first quarter. We extend the 39% out. That would allow us to, again, really tweak, refine what's going on. But again, one of the key missing pieces in the spring was that interaction with the teacher right in front of you, person on person. And now, even though it was Google Meet and we were doing that electronically, virtually, there's something to be said, that in-person connection. So, that's the key thing. That's the benefit that I think of the hybrid model, is you still have that connection, but then you're still doing some work at home.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Sure. Go ahead.
I think that probably it's wise for us to tentatively think that during the second week of our hybrid model, that we would anticipate meeting again as a special board meeting, if there's any reason to think that we want to adjust our model. So I think board members kind of keep in mind that that might be a possibility.
Yeah, we definitely need to see how things go. It's a balancing act between seeing how things go and making sure that if we are seriously considering that, we give people enough time to then make arrangements for childcare or work or so forth after Labor Day. But probably need to see those things in action. So just kind of in preparation for that, some of the things to continue to think about, if we would consider that, what's that going to look like? Do we stay with our current model of Monday, Thursday in person for the first half, and then Tuesday, Friday for the second half of the students, and then Wednesday is a collaboration day where it's small group meetings either with teacher and teacher, teacher administrator, teacher and staff, or student and teacher? Or do we shift to something else, such as, I'll throw some options here, maybe one week, the Monday, Thursday kids, they come in on Wednesday. So they're Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then the next week, the Tuesday, Friday kids come in on Wednesday. So you're gaining some instructional days, about 3 or so over first quarter. Or another option is, option 3 is we could make that a full remote learning day, where students are at home. However, it's not collaboration day. If it's a remote learning, there's additional work going on during that day. So we need to continue to think about one of those options and see if there's any feedback on those. So we can definitely, if we're going to go down the road, we can definitely reach out to our staff, reach out to parents, and see what their thoughts are if we're going to seriously consider that. Because that is going to impact whether students are going to be at home an additional day or whether they're going to be in school additional day.
If you want to say, as working parents, this is really hard to get childcare. And we lost our childcare actually when the remote happened, just because there was so much. And so only giving a week or even 2 weeks to figure all this out for caregiving and financially, it's really, really tough.
And to add to that, I would say a significant amount of parents were expecting us to, after the 3 weeks, to go back to 100% normal. In fact, I was expecting that. That's what I heard. And they're not happy with this. And some of them, the term bait and switch has been used. We need to be very careful about that.
Right.
If we're going to have a special board meeting, then parents need to weigh in. They're the ones that we're serving.
Yeah, so we can definitely survey them. Again, it just continues the situation just continues to evolve and so forth. So as we're just trying to see how things go with half our students, 39% of our students coming back, visualizing how is that going to look with 100% of our students back. So it's just something we need to think about and consider, because there's both sides to it. Definitely that side of it, that we said that was the goal. But also, as we're gathering information and data, if we can extend it further possibly, rather than going remote, which is not a direction I don't think we need to go, But maybe the 100% or the 78% is too much in this school. So we just need to continue to think about, as things continue to evolve. Again, we created that plan and we continue tweaking, but the base of that plan was 3 weeks ago, 3.5. It seems like 3 months ago that we created that plan, just because every day it seems like a week as we gather information. So we definitely can gather feedback and see what thoughts are on that. Definitely. Other questions? Good feedback. Good feedback. Okay. You want to shift to levy conversation, Mr. Lanning? Yep.
We have on the November 3rd ballot, 5.7 mil continuing operating levy that would raise about $3.3 million per year. We would start receiving that money if it were to pass in January of 2021, and it would cost the owner of a $100,000 home $199.50 a year. That might sound familiar because all of that is exactly the same as it was in May or April, whenever you want to say we voted. I want to say that we are continuing to work on the 5-year forecast. There's been a lot changed since the board approved the last one first week in May. With all the remote learning and the fact that we weren't in school for a couple months. We since then have received our recent property tax settlements. We now know what the June 30th fiscal year end balances in the funds, the actual balances are instead of projections. We received a ton of money in state cuts, and we received a few grants also. So hopefully for the next time we meet, I'll at least have a draft of that 5-year forecast to give you some details. I will say this though, the way it looks right now, I feel pretty comfortable sharing this part that the forecast will be done assuming no levy passes, and that the cuts that we currently made, the $4.8 million in cuts, will continue for all 5 years. That's the way I do the forecast. Then when something changes, I make those adjustments. So with that in mind, we would start going into red in the 22-23 school year in the general fund. We would wind up $8.1 million in the red in fiscal year 24-25. So that's where we are right now with the way the draft looks, and we'll have more details when that comes out at the next board meeting. I did want to, Josh, if you could put that one chart up. I wanted to review, I mentioned that we've had state cuts and some grants we've received. Some people have mentioned, well, we know you had cuts from the state, but didn't you receive some grants to offset that, a majority of that or all of that? That's partly true, and if that's up there now, you can see that the first row there, state funding cuts 1920. The first week in May, I believe it was, we received word that we were going to be cut $659,000 in state funding that fiscal year, with only a little less than 2 months left because school fiscal year is in June 30th. So the first week in May, we found out they're going to cut $659,000 for our state funding during these next 2 months. One of the major problems with that is we don't come close to getting that much money from the state in the first place. So I talked to the state and they said, oh, what we do is you get zero money from the state in May and June, and you owe us about $230,000. So that's what we had to do. We had to pay them back money that they'd already given us the first 10 months. So they cut us $659,000. Then we thought, okay, what are they going to do for this next year that began July 1st, a month and a half ago? And we'd heard rumors that it was going to be about the same cut. I didn't hear anything announced from the state. And what they did, they just started funding us at the exact same level that they left off. So in a sly way, we got the same cut again, $659,000. If you follow my drift, we were expecting to be funded at this level for both years. Instead, we were cut $650,000 this year, and they kept it there for this year. So we lost 650,000 in both years, 659,000. So that totals $1,318,000 that we were cut from the state, and that's a chunk for our district, especially in the situation we're in already. But out of the goodness of their heart, they gave us a check that I didn't even know was coming. We got it, general state support, $141,949 to offset a little bit of what they just cut. Then the state came through with the CARES Act for $163,000, but that's mostly money to help fund the extra costs related to the COVID virus and all that. So I would say it's kind of like getting a drug awareness grant. It's great that we got that money, but it doesn't help us pay the bills. It's a extra feature that we're getting funded. And then the federal government came through the Coronavirus Relief Fund, $135,116. And so if you use those last three grants to net out what we were cut a total of $877,074.23. I thought that was important to make known to whoever's here, because the next time you hear somebody say, well, I know you had some cuts from the state, but didn't you get some grants? Well, there's the answer. We got 1.3 million cut from the state and about, what is that, $400 and some thousand of grants, netting out to 877,000 lost. Any questions about anything that we talked so far about the levy or about that chart of grants and state cuts?
I just want to further add to that. So again, I know there's been a lot of statements of, let's go to the state and let's get equal funding from the state. Let's have the state fund us. The state is the solution to this. These facts and figures and things are a huge statement that the state is not going to help us out. If we want to get it done in this community to support our schools at the level that we want them, it's a local decision. It's a local decision level. The state is not going to bail us out. They just cut us $1.3 million. They just cut us $1.3 million. So again, and that is the direct effect that we only get 27% of our funding from the state based on the property wealth within this community, not the wealth of the school district, the community, the properties. So there's other communities that have higher poverty levels and higher title funding, and they got a lot more money. They're the inverse of what we got. So we got $900,000 in a net loss. They're on the other side. They have a $900,000 net plus. Again, that's just a scenario there, but the concept. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve that. They have a lot of poverty, high poverty concerns and issues in their communities. I'm not saying that at all. But to think that the state is going to bail us out and help us out is just a false assumption, that there's just no validity to that. And this speaks volumes to that. They cut us $650,000 with 2 months left in our budget, where all of our costs are done. We were at that point, we were at remote learning, but they're not going to help us out. So what kind of school district we want has to be done, and those decisions has to be made at the local level.
That's all I got.
Okay. All right. So just to kind of go over some things of, just piggybacking on some of the things that Kevin was saying. Again, we've got $4.8 million either in cuts that we've already done or cuts this year and next year that are anticipated reductions. So $2.5 million have already been cut. $2.3 million are for this year and next year. I'm not going to go through all those cuts because I normally go through all of them, but at a high level, just to let you know of all the reductions that have been taking place in this district that are impacting the educational quality of the school district. So summer of 2018, $500,000 in cuts. June of 19, phase one, $813,000 in cuts. Summer of 2019, another $168,000 in cuts. Phase two, in 2021 school year, that's this coming school year, no one's getting a pay raise. Everybody's working extremely hard, probably the hardest they've ever worked. We're pretty hardworking people already, but harder than we've ever worked, and we have a 0% raise, pay freeze this coming school year for all staff members. So that's $2.3 million. Phase 3, that's happening this year. And then phase 4, which because of the levy failure happened, those are $2.5 million. So you add all those up since 2018, 33 positions have been eliminated. That's 10% of our staff. 17 of those are certified. 16 obviously are classified staff members. So, the things because of levy failure, at the K-5 level, there's no art or STEM, K-5, no art or STEM. High school, no high school busing this year. The busing zones in eligibility zones have grown to almost 2 miles, which is the state minimum at BCI in the middle school. Media specialist, we reduced those from 4 to 2. Reduced the high school social studies teacher, science teacher. So there's been substantial cuts that have taken place here. And, I think Mary said, I think last time or the time before that, we spent years, and Mary's been on the board for years, no, that's a good thing, nothing bad, but been years, but have prided herself in the community of building up the type of program that you're proud to have, you're proud to live with, proud to live in a community like that. And you're dismantling it because of the budget reductions due to levy failure. So you spent all those years, and within a year, it's being dismantled because our ability not to pass a levy. So we're really seeing those consequences this year more than ever. They're making a direct impact on students with, especially at the K-5 level, art and STEM. I mean, it's just a dramatic. We have a lot of engineers in this community. Probably a lot work out right, Pat, and take pride in the engineering piece and the STEM, and that's a huge blow to us. That's above and beyond kind of thing. There's not many other communities that have K-2, K-5 STEM. That's something that we really wanted. We pride ourselves with, and it's a great program. And unfortunately, you get to a point where you can't operate your levy, you can't operate the school district. You've got to start, working your way from outside in to the essentials. So, obviously with the levy coming up on November 3rd, early voting starts on October 5th. So we really need to continue to get information out there, inform our community, our parents, our community members. But we probably need to have a conversation of, if the levy does pass, what are some of the things that we possibly want to bring back, if anything, and when? And if the levy does not pass, are there any additional consequences to that? Because I think voters need to know that information, that so that we're transparent with them and making sure that the levy does pass. We're gonna bring X, Y, and Z back, and if it doesn't pass, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. So just as a starting point, I'll just throw some things out here and definitely, obviously, want some feedback on this. So, we've cut about $1.2 million this year, and those cuts stay in effect for next year. So that's where that $1.3 million or so cuts is. So this is a conversation starter. Should we bring back the supplementals that we cut this year? STEM and art, high school busing, media specialists. How much of that $1.1 million do we want to bring back? Keeping in mind also, if you bring that back, then that impacts the 5-year forecast also. So that savings is already built in there, so you got to obviously put that back in as expense. So working with Kevin on some figures and facts, we can bring some things back that we cut because of the phase 4 reductions. If that's something the board wants to consider, think about, again, it's just a conversation starter. Other thoughts on that before we go the other direction of what if it doesn't pass?
I know STEM and art are big, but also the full-time librarians. Love to see them come back. That would be like a top item. And from my point of view, the supplementals that give us the a lot of the enrichment opportunities that we don't, that we're not funding this year. So those would be the three items on my own list. I don't know what are on other people's lists.
I would say that, I think STEM's very important. And I think art is important too. Like STEM would be at the number one on my list. And then the supplementals, because those are a lot of our class advisors and club advisors and things like that we really need for, as you said, for enrichment. So that's what I really see.
I would encourage board members, as you hear from folks in the community, also pass that on to Dr. Kozad. The things that, as I think when it comes to promoting the levy, we need to make sure that people understand what they're voting for, as well as what they're wanting to protect. So that was a pretty fair amount of feedback. Is that we want to know what possibly can come back. Even this year for second semester, could be some items if that was if the levy passes, and then others which don't make sense to do for second semester, but possibly for the full year. So as you consider that, or as other people give you feedback, I'd encourage you to pass that along to Dr. Kozak.
Yeah, it'd be extremely challenging to bring back, seminar in the middle of the year. That would really shift around some of the schedules. Supplementals definitely could bring back in the middle of the year. Media specialists probably could bring that back in the middle of the year. High school busing would be a real big challenge to bring that back in the middle of the year. We'd have to redo all of our routes. I'm not saying it could be done, but just we'd have to redo all of our routes because all of our routes have middle school. They'd be on the same route. So to have students that you'd have to have bus drivers. But the other challenge of that is we don't have a couple sub bus drivers, and so getting bus drivers is extremely challenged. So even if we said yes, we want to do that in the middle of the year, we might not even have enough bus drivers to fill those slots. So that's the other challenging with the high school busing piece.
I totally agree with Mary. STEM is number one. Also encouraging parents and staff to give us feedback. What's in it for you as the voter, as the family? What do you want? What do you need to come back? We need to hear from you.
Yeah, I would definitely 100% agree with that. Definitely need to hear from folks of what's important to them to come back and so forth. Definitely need to hear. Anything else on that, on the positive side there? Okay. Going to the not so positive side, if the levy does not pass. So do we have additional, again, these are just conversation starters. We're going to lose we're going to lose funding of $3.3 million for a year because if it doesn't pass, then we couldn't start collecting until January of 2022. So you lose a whole year of funding. But we have made through our additional reductions, that through from our fiscal precaution, we've had a lot of savings through reductions in those. So I know Kevin is working on a 5-year forecast for next time of the revised, but we're looking to be in the black with those reductions and revised through next school year. So the FY22 school year, so 21-22 school year. So, we could say there's going to be X, Y, and Z reductions, or we could say anywhere from that to we'll kind of do status quo and wait until we vote again, and whenever that would be, the next election would be May and November. So just thoughts with that, because we start going down the road of, again, any additional reductions we have to take, not that we haven't taken all the other ones very seriously, but the next reductions are going to further seriously impact the quality. So reductions would be, I'm throwing out things here, specials K to 5, specials 6 to 12. So, because again, trying to protect the core as much as possible. So those electives would be probably on that list if we're going to go that direction of additional reductions or extracurriculars. I mean, those are the things that are next. The electives and the extracurriculars. So we need to take those decisions very seriously, make sure we have the accurate information to be able to make those decisions. I don't know if any thoughts are on that.
It's almost unspeakable.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe when Kevin comes back with the revised, 5-year forecast, then maybe those numbers will help provide some further clarity. Do we need to do some more reductions, or is this just I'll say new normal, but this is the new normal for a while until we can pass a levy. So we'll continue to think about those things. But we do need to make those decisions in the very, very near future, because that's information that people are going to want to know. And early voting starts October 5th, so people are already thinking about this, through all of August and September of getting that information. So we need to get that information on a timely manner. Just lastly, our job as a school district, according to finances, I think Kevin said this in the past, is to determine a need. Our responsibility as a school district is, what do we need to fund a high quality education? It's up to the community then to say yes or no to that education and those expenses that we are doing as a school district. So as a school district, we'll say what the need is, and it's up to the community to decide if they want to fill that need or not. I think it's a very valid and substantial and a great need that we have in the school district. Let's tell a personal story. Many of you may be the same as, I moved here 10 years ago because it's a great school district, great community. How many times do you hear that with people that are new here? They just didn't stumble upon Bellbrook and say, well, I don't know where to go. Let's just go to Bellbrook-Sugarcreek community. No. I just talked to a parent today who, they have kids, actually 4 and 2. They're military, that's got transferred here. She knew our website upside and down because she had been on our website and other school district website. They went out of the way to pick this community, and they don't have kids in school yet. They have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So, this is a valuable place to let people come here because of a great school system, great community, that combination. So, it's up to the community to continue to decide what kind of school district that they have.
Probably the most valuable asset in our whole community is our schools.
I agree. It's definitely, school district is a partnership between the students, the staff, the teachers, the parents. It's definitely a partnership between all of us working together and having a high quality school system.
Yep.
Anything else with that? All right. Mrs. Chad, are you ready for the ODE district remote learning plan presentation?
At the risk of having my glasses fogged up, I do need them, so I may have to take them off from time to time. So thank you very much. So we have the remote learning plan slideshow ready to go, and I just want to point out a couple of things. Each of you have a packet. One is the copy of the slides that I'll present, and the other stapled packet is the actual Bellbrook remote learning plan. that is to be submitted to the Ohio Department of Education. So I do want to clarify something. ODE requires this plan of every public school district. It's due on August 21st. It's really formulated as sort of a contingency plan for this time period during the pandemic. What will you do? They want plans turned in because we didn't have time for a plan last spring, so they're on it. Now they want districts really articulating what their plan is. So there are several sections to this plan, so I'll walk through that with the slides, but I do want to clarify this isn't a presentation about Bellbrook Online Academy, even though pieces of that plan are certainly woven into our overall remote learning plan. But the purpose of the ODE plan submission was, what are you going to do if schools have to close? What kinds of systems of support do you plan to set up? What will that setting look like? So I just want to clarify that. If we need another presentation later that's very specific to Bellbrook Online Academy, I'm glad to come back. Thanks. I just want to say thank you, like you guys did earlier, Dr. Kozak. As we reopen, it's been just an incredible week, very different compared to what we typically do. So I just want to say thank you to the staff. They participated in so much professional development this week in all of their health classes, basically, about COVID safety and working with the school nurses that I can't say enough about. They've helped us tremendously. Parents, incredibly patient. We have fielded hundreds of emails that went to info@BSS, etc. And it took a while. And I want to acknowledge their patience and understanding because we're a thin staff, especially in the summer. So we did the best we could with that. And I think we got all the communication out that needed to happen. So thank you to the counselors. We had significant changes to the schedules, and counselors just came back to work last week. Everything they did in the spring was literally blown up. That's the phrase we use. Their schedules were just completely dismantled because with the 22% online students, 610 roughly, students leaving the schedules and going online, they had to really start over and create the sections, the teacher assignments from scratch. We removed teachers from that pool of face-to-face teaching to teach online and facilitate that learning. So again, that added another layer of all the changes they had to make. So just my appreciation goes out to them because it's been very difficult on top of everything else they do at the beginning of the year. Principals as well. It's like a year we've never experienced. And thanks to all of you, and Dinah, I can't thank her enough. Dinah Layfield is one of the most flexible people. Every time we need something, she's able to help us out with technology and the curriculum tech support that we all need. So I appreciate all those folks helping with all of the things that roll into our remote learning plan. So the Ohio Department of Education requires this plan, which is what I mentioned, and I mentioned the due date to you. The plan that you have is the actual one that will be submitted. So there are lots of different sections there, and I will condense the presentation of that to the important bullet points from that plan. ODE requires the plan, but they do not approve it. They just need to have it on file. They know that this plan can be fluid. We can make amendments to that as needed. And as you all discussed earlier, amendments are always sort of par for the course now. We're always looking at the most current data to make plan adjustments. This is a quote from the plan. Ohio Department of Ed definitely pointed out that remote learning doesn't mean all online. It doesn't have to. There are lots of other experiences that kids can have in a remote setting, and we learned so much about that during fourth quarter. Teachers got super creative in having students actually create and collaborate in ways that we really didn't know were possible. So just want to point out that remote learning doesn't automatically mean sitting in front of a computer for hours per day. The first thing we had to check off was what would our instructional settings look like? We checked all three: student-teacher interaction through online learning platforms. We used Google Meet. We'll continue to use Google Meet, especially during those days when we have 50% in class the next 3 weeks at least, really less than 50% as you heard. Students are still going to be engaging in some kind of learning on that off day. Online lessons for students to work on at home through some kind of learning management system. We use Google Classroom, and we'll be using a third-party vendor curriculum for those online lessons for Bellbrook Online Academy students. And then offline lessons and instructional materials for students. So there are times when we need to provide worksheets, packets, materials, manipulatives to students, and teachers are preparing for those things now. The instructional needs is the next section. So they're asking us to assess what the instructional needs are. You've heard a lot about this. After kids are out for an entire quarter, where are they? Where are they in terms of their reading levels, their math skills, their knowledge about social studies, science? What kind of PE activities have they been engaged in? Some of these questions can't be answered right now because we could not assess in a traditional way. We got creative. We're going to get better this next quarter, first quarter this year, but we need to have a plan for what the instructional sequencing will look like and more formative assessment than ever. Where are the students? We've got to make adjustments based on their needs. Obviously, our instruction will be aligned to the Ohio Learning Standards. That's a requirement of the plan. Gap analysis is something we did during the spring of 2020 during the closure and during a professional development time. The Ohio Department of Ed came out with documents called gap analysis, and it helped teachers kind of go through the standards and check mark what did I teach when the kids were here? What did I teach when they were at home fourth quarter? What did we not get to? So we provided some collaboration time. These were available for core courses only. There's no possible way we could provide those for every elective out there, so at least it gives us something to communicate to the teachers that will have those students in the fall to kind of say, okay, well, they didn't get to this, so maybe I need to go back to last year's standards and do an assessment and see how the kids are doing with that skill. Special education team planning has been going on really all summer, especially since we made the decision to offer the Bellbrook Online Academy. We are reviewing individual education plans, IEPs, our school psychologist, Todd Whalen, special education supervisor, intervention specialist. They are working really hard on reviewing what students really need and how will that service be delivered in the 50-50 model, in a possible remote setting, or for those students that we know will be 100% online. Gifted services, as you know, there are requirements for testing. There are no requirements for services, but we pride ourselves on having a lot of great services here, some of which have been impacted by the Levy failure. So we do have extended timelines to finish off testing that was suspended in the spring. So we missed a lot of gifted testing last spring. So we'll try to make sure that occurs before the deadline of October. English language learners, planning for those in just more in-depth ways than ever. Our online academy curriculum has translation for a multitude of languages. And we're excited about that to certainly expand our family engagement for online learning for our English language learners. And the next section we have to provide to ODE, how we determine competency, how do we grant credit, how do we promote students to a higher grade level. Those things are pretty straightforward. First of all, content mastery is really what online asynchronous learning is really about. It's, do I understand, am I able to do the things that is expected in this course? So instead of seat time or attendance or granting credit for things like that, it's all about, did you accomplish the skill? Did you master the skill and accomplish the learning target? So that's very much like our face-to-face approach. Our teachers are very focused on concept mastery and reteaching, retesting when needed. So that will be the same kind of approach. Transcription of grades, we are not permitted to say this student was online and have the report card reflect something different than if that child were face-to-face. So all grades will look like a typical Bellbrook-Sugarcreek schools grade. Promotion and acceleration, we'll use the same word policy we've always used. If parents feel like students need to be accelerated or they're not being challenged, there is a process for that, testing and a team decision. And promotion to the next grade will be based on content mastery. Attendance and participation, this is a really hot topic because we do have to report attendance. We're online learners. So whether they're in Bellbrook Online Academy or if we're remote at some point, or if we continue 50-50 model, we have to have a way to measure attendance. And we think about that very differently in the online world. We're going to look at things like lesson completion. Are they showing up for live lessons? Are they participating and engaging in the material presented in the curriculum or with the teachers if they're presenting something in a Google Classroom, etc. So a lot about participation, active engagement, logins to the learning management system. In the case of Bellbrook Online Academy, those are reports that we'll have access to. How often are students logging in? How much time are they spending? And those kinds of things. Interaction with the facilitators, so teachers will be facilitating learning. They're not creating online lessons from scratch. The curriculum is developed and they are facilitating that learning and ensuring kids are mastering the content with tutoring. Non-engagement will be the term I think we use instead of absent. So non-engagement will be tracked with systematic intervention steps. I did meet with Bellbrook Online Academy teachers today online during professional development time and got some feedback on that tracking system, and we will have something so that there is an intervention. Your students not participating, step one, students still not participating, step two, and we keep going and provide intervention very proactively. Progress monitoring is something we do all the time, face-to-face or remote. Are kids making progress toward mastery of the standards? So accommodations review for students who receive special education services, I mentioned that already. What kind of data can we collect in a remote environment that supports students showing growth or not, and what kind of adjustments can we make on the fly or as needed? We'll be increasing the use of formative assessments. So summative assessments, if we think of that more about, you need to know it by the end of this unit, we take a grade on it, that's a big chunk of the overall points that students earn for the quarter, for example. Formative assessment is, are the kids learning? And it's information for me as a teacher to make adjustments. So we're gonna have to use a lot more formative. Kids have been out of school, traditional school anyway, for a long time. And I'm hearing some experts talk on this topic here lately, and we've always looked at growth, and you've heard reports to the board before where I talk about the growth that students are showing, and we have that on the district report cards. How much growth do our students make in a year? There's a lot of discussion about looking at that for a much wider, longer lens. So instead of did they make growth this quarter, we're going to have to adjust that and really slow down our expectations and look more long-term at growth. So we'll be talking more about that, maybe over a 2-year period rather than panicking when the growth isn't there exactly when we want it to be. We have quarterly data team reviews anyway, face-to-face, CIA, curriculum instruction and assessment teams review quarterly data. And we'll continue that, and we'll use data from the online learning platform where needed, and we'll also look at the students that are here with us face-to-face and review that as usual. Equitable access is another section on the plan. Is the playing field equal? Do we all have access to the curriculum? So internet access plans are underway. Josh is on that. We do have families that have limited internet or no internet at all, or maybe it's just on their phones. And then it's very, very difficult for students to complete coursework using a parent's smartphone or their own. So we do have information. We think we have a good handle on where we need to provide support. So we also use parent-student surveys from their online experience fourth quarter in order to make improvements in our plan. And I think this might be the last one, professional learning. Good timing since we have professional development all week and on Wednesdays coming up for the next 3 weeks, which provides us with just much needed time together to collaborate. It's really focused this year on a pretty narrow set of topics compared to our typical opening day where we have like a mini conference and teachers choose from a big menu of options to kind of help with that stress and to quote, we say a lot, no new initiatives, let's just get better at what we're doing. We're really trying to focus on getting better at blended hybrid learning, digital resources. So enhancing the students' remote learning experience is a priority. We're also working to ensure even curriculum delivery. So what we don't want to happen is for students that are online in the Bellbrook Online Academy to have a different expectation of standards mastery first semester compared to the students that are here face-to-face. Because like you said earlier, we're hoping everyone comes back in January. The students that are remote are joining students face-to-face and they have as seamless of an experience as possible. So they're not sitting in class going, I already did this online, and then dealing with that kind of issue. Not fair to them, not fair to teachers, and it'll provide a much better experience if we're ensuring an even curriculum delivery. That may not be perfect, but we do have some options to try our best to ensure that the same standards are covered during the same time periods. How they're covered will be totally different, but we do have teachers working on providing me and the Bellbrook Online Academy teachers with a list of what they're covering first quarter, and then we'll get to the second quarter here soon, so that we can say, okay, we're going to make sure and customize this online experience for students so it matches as best we can. Ongoing professional development, we're kicking off a series tomorrow. It's called Exploring Blended Learning. I'm really pleased Montgomery County ESE has provided this opportunity to us for every teacher free of charge. It's a really well done course with multiple modules. Teachers will be part of the Google Classroom, so they are the students in this case. Tomorrow, Dr. James Rowley will kick that off and explain the learning objectives and what he wants to accomplish in that course. So teachers will get a chance to sharpen their saw in terms of that blended learning approach. He'll be back with us a couple more times because this is an ongoing professional development opportunity where they'll introduce modules, they'll get a chance to work independently, try some things with their students, and then we meet again with him in a Zoom meeting and talk about those experiences. Then he introduces some new tools, and then we get a chance to try those, come back and meet with him. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully we have great attendance with that one tomorrow. I'm also kicking off a professional book study, the Distance Learning Playbook. Educators are really familiar with these names. These are the authors of the book. They just published it this year. It is a 2020 publication because of the recognition that we really need support in the field. So those books will be coming in and will lead professional learning communities where teachers will get to read that, talk about their experiences, and learn some new tricks along the way. All of these things I think will be critical whether we're in this kind of pandemic world or not. Sharpening our toolbox and developing more tools around distance learning, remote opportunities, technology tools will just be great, even if we're all face-to-face January and forever. So I'm just concluding here with this quote I really like. I found this somewhere in an article I read. It was a teacher that said, never has there been another time in history where the majority of educators around the world jumped into action to reinvent how schools and classrooms function. We've all heard things like that, but that just, it kind of gave me chills because we are living in historical times, and we're going to do the very best we can, and I'm just so impressed that staff has been so open-minded about everything thrown at them, and it's a lot. So I just want to thank them again, and we're going to look back at this and hopefully say we learned a lot, we got through it, and we can handle anything. So if there are any questions, I can take those.
I have one associated with internet access or equitable access. I know that we're trying to have a plan to make internet available to students who may not have it at home. Do we have any specifics or that we can kind of share about that?
I can start here for Josh, and he may take over if I'm not doing it justice. Hotspots, they're portable little devices where kids would have internet access. We have X in stock. How many?
10.
We have 10 in stock, and we believe that meets our needs.
Oh, good.
Based on our fourth quarter experience and additional surveying. It's always tough to send out a survey that's electronic and say, please tell me if you don't have internet. But what we do find is most families do have a smartphone. They may have cellular data plans. And then we also have teachers that really know exactly who needs support. They've been using digital tools. They've been using Google Classroom before coronavirus came around. So they are able to work with Josh and say, we should follow up with this family. I think they need support. And we started that process fourth quarter.
Very good.
Are these hotspots exclusive to our educational program, or can they go anywhere on the internet?
That's a really good point. I do not think we can control that. If you have internet access, I don't think we can control a hotspot.
We do. Part of the reason that we picked the models that we did is because it offers us a certain amount of control. So there is a content filtering layer. There is, it's all password protected, so it's designed to be used by the student, not necessarily by the family, unless the family demonstrates a need for that access level. But it does provide us with a significant amount of transparency and content control. So it really is meant to be used for educational purposes. It's not just a wide open internet connection.
So there is some safety in that.
Yes. We also, it's worth noting that a lot of our content filtering that we have on the devices happens at the device level. So if a student takes our Chromebook home, they get the same level of security and protection that they get when they're here in the school. So we have it set up that way by design so that even if they're on their home internet, if they're using our device, we're still providing that level of security.
Nice.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Very good. I also wanted to comment and thank you for throughout the whole summer. I know that you have had curriculum chats on Fridays and maybe other days as well. Since I was working remote most of the summer, I got to listen in on many of the sessions. I didn't get all the detail, but I know that there was a lot of engagement with a lot of teachers throughout the summer. And what a blessing it is for us as a district to have folks who, well, like you, who can provide that that learning opportunity and that collaboration opportunity and that how are we going to solve this problem kind of opportunity and engage with teachers throughout the whole summer. I mean, there are a lot of people who are on those calls every week, and that was really quite impressive, both from their engagement and yours. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I am impressed too to have that many teachers during the summer months when they're not on contract to engage professionally. It was really just a great experience for me. I'm gonna keep doing it, even if, we'll offer them at different times during the school year. I know a lot of teachers won't be available at certain times, but I record those, and I am really impressed with how many people go back and watch the recordings if they can't be there, and it's just, I think, more so than the academic kinds of things we discussed and all the what ifs, and there were a lot of them. It was just really comforting to have that community, and, we're all concerned about the same things, and it really helped with, I think, our teamwork. I appreciate that very much.
Also, it isn't spring anymore. We have more time now, and I hope we'll continue to investigate other options than this. That's one thing I check almost every day. And there are many, many things out there that other states and communities are using that may be better. So I hope we will do that.
In terms of Bellbrook Online Academy?
Yes.
Okay.
And live streaming and so forth, too, some of those kinds of things.
Well, I think that for the student experience and our teacher experience and all the things I mentioned before, I cannot see us changing platforms in the middle of.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Should we have to go for another cycle or whatever, we'll make sure that we're.
Absolutely. We'll have so much more experience then, won't we?
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
So very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate, thank you for all your leadership curriculum-wise, and also with organizing the Bellbrook Online Academy, and that's a lot of work putting that whole piece together, and just leadership with curriculum and within the school district. Again, one piece of the puzzle here, Mrs. Chad, team effort with all of our administrators working extremely hard, but just thank you for your curriculum expertise.
All right, thank you. Next is number 8, open communication period. We did have one sign up for open communication, and that person said that they don't need to speak at home. So we can go on to the next area, but since it's 8:33, let's take 2 minutes and stand up and stretch and keep our legs from getting blood clots and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. We'll come back together in 2 minutes.
It's too long to sit. I'm standing up. I used to do it. Yeah.
start back up again. All right, we're on to the superintendent's report. So Dr. Kozar, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Number 9, your new business, licensed staff employment, resignation, leave of absence, supplemental duty. Number 1, recommend recall of teacher Aaron Darris for a current 5-year employment contract retroactive to August 10th, 2020.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Long? Are there any discussion, questions, comments? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Recommend increase in daily hours for the following licensed staff effective the 2021 school year. Eileen Malice, BCI school nurse, from 6.75 to 7.5 hours a day.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. Long?
Second.
Mrs. Sloughman? Any questions, comments? Thank her to going to full time. Please call the roll.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes. Motion passes.
Recommend acceptance of resignation for the purpose of full Ohio SPRS retirement from teacher Dave Herrick, effective August 31st, 2020.
Any, have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. France?
Second.
Mrs. Long? Any questions, comments?
I just, Dave left, but he was a fantastic teacher.
Yeah,
All 3 of my grandkids have had him and been very lucky to have him.
yeah,
And we're going to miss him a lot.
yeah. That's right. Any others? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Reluctantly, yes.
Mrs. France.
Reluctantly, yes.
Motion passes.
Recommend acceptance of resignation from teacher Erica Marie Jurgens, effective August 8th, 2020.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Second.
Mrs. Long? Any other discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following unpaid leaves of absence. Teacher Kelly Hodson, effective for the first semester of the 2021 school year, and teacher Brandon Ulebrock, effective August 14th through November 20th, 2020. Those dates are approximate for Mrs. Ulebrock.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Long?
Second.
Mrs. France? Any other discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following one-year limited teacher contracts for the 2021 school year, effective August 10th, 2020. Hannah Carnival, Bell Creek, 5th grade, BA Step 1. Meredith Collins, Bell Creek, 3rd grade reading, M Master Step 0. Hannah Hartley, Bell Creek, 3rd grade, BA Step 0. Michelle Mize, High School French, MA, Step 10. Amanda Newsom, High School Art, BA, Step 3. And Holly Warner, Stephen Bell, halftime kindergarten, BA, Step 0.
All right, do you have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Sloughman?
Second.
Mrs. Long? Before we vote, would the principals like to introduce any of the new teachers that are here?
I think Mrs. Keaton would like to. Go ahead, Mrs. Keaton.
Yes, thank you. School board members, I would like to introduce Holly Warner. Holly comes to us from Arcanum as a high school graduate and from Wright State University for her undergraduate degree. And she did her year-long student teaching with us in 2nd grade last year with Joe Keller and had the unfortunate but fortunate experience doing COVID remote 100% during the shutdown. We are thrilled to have Holly join our school family as a gold kindergarten teacher with the luxury of having her substitute with us on the Tuesdays and Fridays, and then as far as the collaboration on Wednesdays. So thank you for allowing me to introduce Holly. We are delighted to have her join the Stephen Bell family.
Good. Welcome.
Also, just want to say welcome to Holly and just all the other new hires. Extensive interview process, extensive process, a lot of applications. We just have some fantastic new hires through that process. The teachers and staff and principals were involved in that first round, and then the second round more myself, principal, and Mrs. Chad, other central office folks were in that second interview process. So just fantastic. Well, I was going to say candidates, not candidates anymore, new hires. They just are a great addition to the family, and welcome to the Bellbrook Eagle family. So thank you. Yeah.
Let's finish this by
Yes.
calling the roll.
Okay, Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes, motion passes.
All right, recommend number 7, recommend approval of the following supplemental duty contract for the 2020-21 school year. Stipends 100% unless indicated, so Lindsay Allen all the way down to Andrew Solomon. And then we also have an addition on the hand carry, Tess Rivero, National Honor Society advisor.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. France,
Second.
Mrs. Sloughman. Any other questions or comments? Okay, please call the roll.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France.
Yes.
motion passes.
Number 8, be resolved, the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Board of Education has offered these supplemental duty positions via posting to licensed employees of the district. The board either had no qualified licensed employee applicants or no employees applied for these positions before these positions were offered to non-licensed persons. The following non-licensed persons have met qualifications for the board posting of supplemental duty positions as noted below. So recommend approval of the following supplemental duty contracts for the 2021 school year. And stipends 100% unless indicated. So Chris Baker all the way down to Brian Wool, and a hand carry, Alicia Crawford for high school assistant boys and girls cross country with those percents that are on there.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. Long,
Second.
Mrs. France. Any discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long.
Yes.
motion passes.
Number 9, recommend approval of the following supplemental duty volunteers for the 2021 school year. Jalissa Anderson, all the way down to Ronald Rainey, and hand carry, Kayla Parker, high school assistant boys, girls cross country. Those are volunteers.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. Long,
Second.
Mrs. Sloughman. Any questions or comments? We appreciate these volunteers, especially to assist with our music and cheerleading and cross-country teams. Please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman.
Yes.
motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following substitute teachers for the 2021 school year. Jennifer Weber and Devin Wilkerson.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. Long,
Second.
Mrs. France. Any discussion, questions? The only one I had is, how's our substitute pool?
Again, that pool is pretty shallow. We've had a few subs say they did not want to come back just due to the whole situation. We did to try to hedge our bet on that. We did, like Mrs. Keaton said about Ms. Warner there. So we have two subs in each building coming in on our days in school throughout all of August, so that we at least have ensured that we have a couple subs in the building. So we have them all throughout August, and we'll see how successful that is. But just because we know that there's a concern, we're trying to be proactive and make sure that we we have those substitutes.
All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes. Motion passes.
B, recommend staff employment resignation leave of absence to recommend an increase in daily hours in the following support staff effective with the 2021 school year. Beverly Peterson, high school custodian, from 7 to 7.5 hours a day.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. France,
Second.
Mrs. Long? Any questions or comments? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Recommend approval of the following one-year limited employment contracts effective the 2021 school year. We have Robin Cordonier, high school secretary, classification number 3, 215 days to 7.5 hours a day, step 4. And then on the hand carriers, we have Jeff Osborne, custodian, classification number 3, 209 days, 7.5 hours per day.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Long,
Second.
Mrs. France? Any other discussion?
Mr. Hand?
Sure. We had a lot of hires this year, late hires, unexpected hires. We have a hiring a lot of people, so we're really excited about that. First of all, Michelle Mize, thought she was going to get away with it. She's sitting over there. She is our new French teacher. So welcome her. She comes to us from Chaminade, Juliet. 10 years experience, is that right?
Yeah.
10 years experience teaching French at Chaminade, and I know the World Language Department is very excited about working with her this year. Robin Cordonier comes to us from parts unknown. She's been around here for a long time. We've been down here her kids all the way up. And we're really happy to have her on board, working as the office secretary. And we're having a great time. So,
Excellent.
like I said, a lot of hires we weren't expecting, but we really got some good people. Also, Amanda Newsom is our new art teacher. Amanda comes to us from Fairborn, and your 4th year education, and she's a 2012 graduate of Bellbrook High School. So,
Oh, excellent.
So very excited to have her back.
Oh, very good, thank you.
Thanks, Dave, for introducing all your staff here. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other discussion, comments? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 3, recommend approval of the following substitute support staff for the 2021 school year. George Ronald Fisher and Dina Harper, sub-bus drivers. And then we have also John Schwarberg, bus driver and transportation assistant. I think earlier I mixed up, I was mentioning him as the new custodian, and actually is Jeff Osborne that we said for number 2, so I apologize for that from earlier.
All right, any discussion? All right, please call the roll.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion, I was gonna say.
Thank you, Mrs.
That's all I
France, keeping me
missed.
legal. Do we have a motion?
A second.
Mrs. France and Mrs. Long as the second. Thank you again. Now, any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yeah.
Mrs. Sloughman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then we do have a number 4, staying in that same section. Number 4 is on the hand carry. Recommend acceptance of resignation from Dina Harper as special needs assistant, effective August 10th, 2020.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs.
Second.
Long, Mrs. Sloughman, second. Any discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes. Motion passes.
C, remote learning plan. Recommend approval of the district-wide remote learning plan effective for the 2021 school year as required by the Ohio Department of Education, as presented by Mrs. Chad earlier.
We have a
So
motion.
moved.
Mrs. France,
Second.
Mrs. Long. Any discussion? Again, thank you very much. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France.
Yes.
motion passes.
D, revision to student fees, 2021, recommend approval to amend the 2021 student fee schedule.
Motion,
So moved.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Second.
Mrs. Long. Any discussion, questions, comments? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long.
Yes.
motion passes.
E, donation, recommend acceptance of the following donation of gratitude. Atherton Barker Group, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, $1,195 for Stephen Bell Playground renovations fund.
Have a motion,
Second.
Mrs. Long and Mrs. France. And I was there last evening to see some of the changes that have happened with the Stephen Bell Playground. It looks awesome. There are a variety of new playstations set up for Foursquare at basketball, hopscotch, bright colors. I know that's not all of them, but a lot of bright colors, lots of great opportunities for kids who are going to be enjoying those this year. So it really looks great. Any other comments?
We saw it yesterday as well. My daughter was so excited.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman.
Yes.
motion passes.
For release of student for transportation, recommend release of the following students to Centerville City Schools for the purpose of transportation to from Incarnation for the 2021 school year. Emma Bernista and Parkview Court.
So moved.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Second.
Mrs. Long. Any other discussion, questions? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes, motion passes.
Okay. Let's do revision first. Okay. Revision to board policy, first read for number 3220, standard-based teacher evaluation. The Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Legislature we're transitioning to OTES, the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, and now it's OTES 2.0. So this is the first year that we are doing OTES, a new teacher evaluation system. It's essentially the same as the previous OTES. However, there are a few pieces to it. If you remember from the past, that 50% of a teacher's evaluation was based on student growth measures, testing, and so forth. That is no longer the case. It is no longer 50% of their evaluation rating. It is now embedded into the rubric for individual teachers. So it's part of the whole rubric, and it's really a shift in focus from high stakes teacher evaluation system based on testing to more of reflective use of data and how are we effectively using that to help students grow and learn and so forth. So it's really a shift into that. So Mrs. Chad led this evaluation or teacher evaluation committee in conjunction with our union. So they had 4 members. We had 4 members as administrators, 4 teaching staff members. So we worked numerous times over the summer to continue to put this together. We are continuing to work on it, working out specific details, but the major components are in this evaluation system and the policy that I put forth as a first read for tonight. So if you want to look over that, if you have any questions or so forth, more than welcome to have those now or between now and the next meeting. So
we'll vote on this at our next meeting.
Correct.
So if it's a special meeting, we'll vote on it then. If
I would like
it's a
to.
regular meeting, we'll vote then.
Yes, yes. So look over it, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay. And then the hand carry here on the back of the green page here, G, memorandum of understanding. Recommend approval of a memorandum of understanding between the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Board of Education and the Sugarcreek Education Association regarding payment of fall 2020 athletic band supplemental duty stipends. So I'm going to read the really important part of the MOU. The important part is it says, now therefore it is agreed, hereby agreed by and between the board and the association that for the season for fall sports and fall band supplementals is canceled on or before August 31st, 2020, supplemental contracts will be paid at 75%. The season for fall sports and band supplementals is canceled on or after September 1st, 2020. Supplemental contracts will be paid 100%. So these contracts were voted on tonight. So essentially the contracts that were voted on tonight, either in July or June or so forth, we had approved those people as volunteers so they could start working with those groups. And though we officially hired them tonight, we've been working again. Thank you to the union and collaborative with SEA and the union. They get it. They get the financial situation we're in, and there's a lot of unknowns out there, and a balancing act between compensating our people who that are doing the supplementals, that for all the hours that they put in, it's pennies on the hour for them. But the same respect that if it is canceled, it's a little extra money for the school district to save in these hard financial times. So again, appreciate your cooperation with this. They voted on it just yesterday, so we appreciate that.
All right. Board members, anything else, discussion on the other topics that you want to bring forward for the group?
But that does need to be voted on.
Oh, it does.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Yes.
Oh, okay, very good. So Mrs. France has made the motion to approve,
Second.
and Mrs. Long has seconded. Any other questions or comments on the MOU? I do also appreciate the folks who are in that scenario, their willingness to forego the 25% if that's how it works out. No further comments, please call the roll.
Mrs. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Mrs. France.
Yes.
motion passes. Sorry, I wasn't here.
No, that's it.
Needed the approval. Missed that one. Okay. Anything else for the board? All right, do I have a motion for adjournment?
So
Mrs. Long,
Second.
Mrs. Sloughman? Please call the roll. I don't think there's any discussion.
Mrs. Sloughman,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mrs. France,
Yes.
Mrs. Long.
yes.
Motion passes. We are adjourned.